And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at an older Euro game called the Princes of Florence. Now, this is a game in which each player has their own little board, which they're trying to, make the most comfortable or the most inspiring to artists that they're going to have, or different people with different types of jobs that they may have. Now, most of these people are going to be artists, but the idea is that you're trying to build different buildings, different types of landscape, be they parks or be they ponds. You're going to have different freedoms or different types of inspiring people in these areas that are going to be, inspirational or beneficial to these different workers that you're going to have. And the better your area is for your person, the more he's going to be able to work, and the more the work values of his stuff are going to go up when you decide to have him complete a work. The better the work values you have, the more money you'll make, but also potentially you'll score some points for doing so. So real quick, we'll see what you get inside the box for the Princes of Florence, kindly supplied by the Board Game Exchange. We'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and we'll get my final opinions on this game. So here you can see the components for the Princes of Florence. Now, each player has their own little player board that they're going to be building their province on, or whatever you want to call it. They're going to be building up kind of a town or an area for people to work in, different professions, different artists to work in. And at the beginning of the game, they're going to get some cards. Now, that's going to be these profession cards here. They're going to get dealt 4 of these, and they're going to keep 3. These are going to be the professions that they're trying to satisfy in order to earn victory points and in order to increase the works that they're trying to make. So these people are going to live in this area and try and make different works of art, or whatever they may be, which will get you a work value, which may earn you some points, but will definitely earn you some money. Now, the way this game works is that each player, as I said, starts with their own board. They start with this little marker and a pawn in order to show their score. This is the start player marker, which will rotate around the board, and then they start with some money with which to buy things through an auction. Each round of the game is going to be played over that auction, and then a series of actions, and then back to a new auction in the next round, and so forth and so on, while you're trying to score some points. So, the first thing you're going to do in each round is you're going to have that auction, and the auction will start with the start player, and they can choose any one of these 7 different things here. You'll see that we have parks, forests, we have lakes, jesters, builders, prestige cards, and recruiting cards. And they can choose any one of these 7 things that they would like to auction off. When they do this, they pick one, and they start at a bid of 200 florins. Now, you start with a bunch of money, so 200 is not all that much, but then it goes around the table, and each player has the chance to bid either up to 100 florins more or pass, meaning so the next player could bid 300, then 400, then 500. Someone could pass, and they'd be out of the auction for good. But it's going to keep going until everyone passes, and whoever has the high bid at that point is going to pay the money for the thing that they bought, and they're going to place it or use it appropriately. So, if they bought a park or a forest or a pond, they're going to have to place it into their area wherever they see fit. So it has to be placed out here. Now, once it's placed, it won't be able to be moved, but you have to place it and be careful where you place it. Additionally, the player that buys it is going to put their marker on top of that pile. So let's say the green player bought this, and the marker would go on top of the pile. And that means that this item cannot be auctioned again during this auction round. So no more ponds or no more lakes for this round here. Everything else is still available. So then the next player in order, if it wasn't the first player who bought the item, if it was the first player who bought the item, that player would put up another item for auction, a different one. It may be the forest, it may be the ponds, it won't be the ponds, but it may be the park or the jester or the builder or any of these different things. And again, you'd have another auction going around until everyone passed. Green cannot bid because they're already out. But everyone else, bids until everyone passes, and that person buys the thing, and maybe they put their marker out, they take the appropriate thing and place it, and so forth and so on. Now, several of these things, the lakes, the forests, and the parks, are structures in your area that your workers or your professions are going to want in order to increase their ability to work. So you'll look at these cards here. For example, this is the organ maker, and he wants to have a forest in his area. It says landscape forest, and if he has a forest, he's going to get 3 additional work value points when he builds. So you can see the cards like this. There's other information on there that I'll cover in a little bit. Different ones may require different things. So this guy wants a lake. You get the idea. They're going to want specific things in the area in order for them to work more effectively. These other tiles here, the builders, there are 3 spots for builders on your board. When you buy one of these, it's going to reduce the cost of building buildings during the action phase. The first builder you get will reduce the cost by 400 florins per building. The next one will allow you to have buildings adjacent, which is usually not allowed. And the third one will actually make all buildings free when you build them, and you'll still be allowed to have them adjacent. So getting builders is pretty good. Jesters are going to automatically increase the work value of all of your works completed by your professions by 2 for each jester you have. So you can start building up jesters. They go in your palazzo here. And the more jesters you have, the higher your work value will be. But note, only one of them will get auctioned off each round, so you're not going to collect a lot of them. The prestige cards here, when you win the prestige cards, you're actually going to get to draw the top 5 and keep one of them. These prestige cards here have different things on them that will earn you victory points at the end of the game if you manage to accomplish them. So this one says, prestige for the most parks, you earn 5 PP. So if you happen to have the most parks, you're going to get 5. Or prestige for all 3 freedoms, which I haven't covered yet, but there are freedoms you can get, and that will get you 8 PP. So a lot of these prestige points are going to be based on the fact that either you're the only person to do something or you manage to accomplish some goal. Finally, there are going to be recruiting cards here. These are going to be a profession card, which are like the cards that you have, but these are going to let you either basically take one from another player, and they're going to count towards increasing your work value for certain things. So you can take these cards in the auction, and you can use this card to recruit a card from someone else that's already played it to the table. So you're going to go around and you're going to auction off, and every player is going to get to buy something in the auction. The last player automatically gets to buy their thing for 200 florins, because that's the start bid. So if you're last and you happen to end up in a scenario where you don't want to buy anything that's being auctioned off and you get to go last, you get your thing for $200 or 200 florins, which is great. After the auction, so once everything's been auctioned off, and in a 5-player game, obviously 5 of these things will be auctioned and 2 of them won't, you're going to go into the action phase. And the action phase gives you several different choices. Those choices are as follows. You may build a building. I talked about buildings earlier when I was talking about bidding on the builders and placing them on your builder spots. Buildings usually cost $700, and you can build any of these. The reason you would want to build them is because the profession cards you'll have in your hand will want specific buildings. This guy here wants a chapel if he's going to finish a work to make his work better. Or this guy here wants a theater. So you can choose to build any of these buildings for $700 or 700 florins. And you would have to place this out on your board in whatever orientation you wanted, but you'll have to note that when you build buildings, you usually can't build them adjacent. So the next building I build can't be placed like this, but it could be placed corner to corner. So you're going to want to be very careful about how you position things out in your area, because once you build them, they can't be moved for the rest of the game. That, as I said, costs you 700 florins, and you get 2 actions on your turn. So each player will take 2 actions. It will pass to the next player, who will take 2 actions, and so forth and so on. So building a building could be one of your actions, and you could do that twice on your turn for 700 florins each building, or if you happen to have several buildings, it could be cheaper. Sorry, builders, it could be cheaper. The next action could be to introduce a freedom. You'll note that these professions also want freedoms. For example, this one here wants the freedom of travel, or this one here wants the freedom of opinion. And there are 3 different freedoms you can get. They're right here. You can buy these as an action. They cost 300 florins, and you can place them on your principality here, which will give you those freedoms to use later. When you buy them, they're worth some victory points. Buildings are also worth victory points when you buy them. And they're going to essentially let you have those freedoms so that when you complete a work with these professions, the work value will be higher. I should note that also the second and third forest, lake, and park that you get during the auctions are worth victory points. So there are several ways to get victory points by building multiples of things. A different action you could take would be to take a profession card. So if you want to take a profession card, you can either use your recruiting card to steal one from someone else, or you can get new profession cards from this pile over here. Now, the recruiting cards are used to take professions from people that have already played them to the table, meaning they've completed a work, and they've placed this by their player board. And then you can pick up somebody else's card and either use that card to complete a work for yourself, or save it for later to complete a different work when you have the stuff. But maybe you see a worker that you really want because he works well with the things you have in your principality. You can get a bonus card. So there are these bonus cards here. You get to look through 5 of these bonus cards if you decide to take a bonus card. They cost 300 florins. And when you do this, you'll see that they have these different bonuses on them. This one says you get a bonus for each prestige you have, and each freedom in your principality increases your work value by 1. Now, these cards are going to be played when you finish a work. which is the last action you can take on your turn. So you get 2 actions: completing a building, which can be done one or twice. You can get a profession card, you can get a freedom, you can get a bonus card once or twice, or as one of your actions, you can complete a work with one of your profession cards from your hand. And those are the cards that I've been showing you the whole time, like this organ maker. And when you complete a profession, it's going to tell you how to score the work value of your profession. So you'll see here that we're looking at this, and it says that if you have a chapel, it's worth a bunch of points, 4. If you happen to have the landscape he wants, it's worth 3. If you have the freedom he wants, it's worth 3. For each jester you have out there, it's worth 2 to his work value. For each profession card you have, either in your hand or played in front of you, it's worth 1. And then all of the bonus cards you play are worth extra for whatever the bonus is. Like I just showed you, that one gave you points for the freedoms and for everything else to your work value. So let's say that Blue decided to play out this organ maker, and on his board he had a chapel and a forest, but he did not have the freedom of opinion. He had 1 jester, so we're up to 9 in terms of work value, and he had 3 profession cards either out on the table or in his hand, so that's going to be 12 work value. Now, in the different rounds, you have to exceed or meet or exceed a specific work value. In round 1, it's only 7. So I could do this in this round if I had all of those things, which of course I wouldn't because I couldn't get that many different pieces. So I'd need to use some bonus cards. But let's say it's round 3 and I got up to a work value of 12. With that work value of 12, I would place this card out in front of me and I would put my marker out on the board as Blue on 12 to show that that's my current work value. I made that work in a work value of 12. So, in addition to placing that out there, which is not points, that's not points at this point, you're going to get money. You're going to get 100 florins per work value. So for example, 12, I would get 1,200 florins. I have the choice of taking that all in florins, or at this point, right now, and only right now, I can trade in 200 florins several times to get 1 prestige point. So if I wanted to take the whole thing in prestige points, I could take 6 prestige points and no money, or I could take 4 prestige points and some money, however I want to work it out. But basically, you're going to place your marker out to show what your work value was, you're going to get some money and maybe some victory points, and then you're going to move on. Now, at the end of the action round, everybody's going to look at their work values, and whoever has the highest work value is going to get 3 points. So you'll see there's a theme here. Building extra ponds or lakes is 3 points, building extra forests is 3 points, building buildings is 3 points, having the highest work value is 3 points. So you're going to get points kind of in threes here. And after that, you're going to reset all of these back to 0, the markers. You're going to obviously keep track of your points with your workers here, and you're going to move on to a new round, starting with auctioning, passing the start player, and you're going to auction off stuff again. Again, each one of these things can only be auctioned once, and you'll be paying the florins that you got from either playing out cards and getting more florins, or various other ways in order to get new pieces. You're going to go through 7 rounds of this, obviously with the work value that you need to complete going up each time that you play, go through new rounds. So the next profession you play is going to have a higher work value, meaning you'll need more stuff on your player board or more bonus cards in order to increase your value throughout the game until you get to the end of the 7th round. At this point, you'll have the points that you've scored throughout the game, either by building stuff out onto your board or by trading in things for points. And in addition, you're going to score points from any of the prestige cards that you've picked up throughout the game that you've managed to satisfy. Whoever gets the most points over these 7 rounds is going to be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is the Princes of Florence. This game is actually very good. It's a game I enjoy quite a bit, which kind of makes me wonder why I had it at one point and traded it away and now really want to get it back. So that tells you that it's good. I don't own this. This was provided to me for review by a company that rents board games, so you can tell, even though I don't own it, I'm really excited about it, and now I have to go get a copy again because it's reminded me how good it is. There's just so many different paths to doing things. You can build a lot of buildings, especially by building up your builders, which allow you to have buildings adjacent, which you normally can't do. And each building you get gets you 3 points. Or you can focus more on getting the right things for your workers, which of course is always a good idea, and they'll provide better work values, which will get you points. Or you can put more gardens or ponds in your area, and each one of those will get you 3 points. You can use the bonus cards to try and get points by jacking up the work value, even if you don't have specific things in your area that your workers want. You can jack it up with those bonus cards, to try and get a better work value, and of course that will pay off. Or later on, you can, trade in your money. If you get money for a high work value, you can trade that money in for points at a cost of 200 per 1 point. So there's just a ton of different things you can do, a ton of ways to get points. The game all works together very smoothly. I just enjoy it quite a bit. I can't really recommend it more than that. So if it sounds good to you, please check out The Princes of Florence.
To try this game and over 800 others before you buy them, visit BoardGameExchange.com.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.